The Blues look really good, but I believe if they do this one thing, they can be one of the scariest teams in the NHL, just like that. And I'm going to tell you what that thing is. But right now, I am not complaining as the Blues won 4 out of their 5 last games. And I will talk about that all coming up here on Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to Locked On Blues, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Haley Taylor Simon, and I talk to you about my St. Louis Blues, our St. Louis Blues, every single day, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on the weekends if something big happens. And it's just having a conversation about what's going on with this team, what this team could do moving forward, and of course, just some random thoughts that come into my head when it comes to the Blues. So I like to do this thing where I record as the Blues are playing. So right now it is the first intermission of their game against the Lightning. Blues are up 1-0. The reason why I do this is that way when you're listening, I can kind of say, you know what, this is what I'm seeing tonight, talk about the game, and then tomorrow is a full reaction type of video. Most importantly, on game nights, though, I like to focus on what the Blues could do to improve. So obviously, there's going to be a lot that we're going to talk about on today's episode. Blues and Lightning. Was I being too harsh on the Blues? And looking ahead. So that's all to come up here on today's episode of Locked On Blues. And before I get into today's episode, I just want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. The St. Louis Blues have my entire heart, and it's because I believe that this team finally has it. They finally somehow clicked, and they're coming together, and I couldn't be more happy about that. So obviously, as I said, it is the end of the first period, and the Blues are up 1-0 against Tampa Bay. And Colton Parayko was able to get his second goal of the season, assisted by Robert Thomas, because it's always RT's season, with his 10th assist of the season. And of course, our boy, Pavel Buchnevich, who got a hattie the other night. This St. Louis Blues team thus far is dominating the Lightning. This team is looking really good. And I know the Lightning are not as good as they used to be, but it's a very interesting kind of concept, right? Where you look at the Blues and you see them as a team that really struggled in the beginning of the season. And mind you, they're going to continue to struggle because they are not the best team. But you're going up against the guys like Steven Stamkos, that I think are he's one of the best guys to play. I'll give him that. But it's one of those things where it's really interesting about the Blues is that they're a team that looks really good right now. And I'm confused in a sense, and I will dive into if I was being too harsh on them coming up soon. But it is an interesting thing when the St. Louis Blues literally look like a whole new team. And I'm just going to tell you the lineups. That way you know who was playing where tonight. So on the first line, no surprise, it is Robert Thomas, Pavel Buchnevich, and Kasperi Kapanen. And then on I like to call this the Brandon line. It is Brandon Shen, Brandon Saad, and Jordan Kyrou. And then Hayes' line, third line, it's obviously Kevin Hayes, Alexei Turchenko, and Jacob Vanra. And then on the fourth line, Oscar Sundqvist, Sonny, Sam Miblé, and Jake Neighbors. On defense tonight, our first pair goes to Nick Leddy and Colton Parayko. Then we have Torrey Krug and Justin Folk and Marco Scandella and Scotty P. In net, Jordan Binghamton. So I would like to say that this is something that maybe they should stick with. The defense has stepped up. I will give the defense that. Obviously, tonight, Colton was able to get the Blues' first goal. Hopefully, there's more coming. Okay. But something that I want to point out is something that Berube said about the lines. I think overall, we're getting a good work from all of the lines, what their job is and what they're doing. Oscar Sundqvist, Sammy Blaine, Jake Neighbors have been really good and definitely in that line option. They've scored some goals for us. Obviously, Sonny on the penalty kill has done a good job. That line has been a really good line, a forecheck line, a heavy line, and they're playing that to the identity of what that line is. Overall, I'm pretty happy with what all of our lines have done from checking standpoint to production standpoint. So I think that these are the lines going forward. They've been kind of like this for a little while now. I know Berube was tweaking them here and there, but if it's working, it's working, and don't change something if it's working. That goes with anything in life if you want some advice here in the Locked On Blues podcast. So I think that Berube sticking to these lines definitely is something that is helping the Blues' success. It's an interesting thing, right? When you look at the St. Louis Blues team and you look to see how they're doing. I mean, right now against the Lightning, they've won 61% of the faceoffs, okay? They've had 11 hits. They've had 9 block shots, which is really good for the Blues. 6 takeaways. Okay, they did have 5 giveaways, which is like not the best. But you know what? It is what it is. And Nick Leddy, he had the only penalty thus far with delaying the game. Puck over glass. But it's fine. I mean, it's fine. Is it fine? I don't know if it's fine, but I'm going to say it's fine just because I'm impressed with how the Blues are doing. This team doesn't fail to confuse me. This team doesn't fail to make me question, hey, being a Blues fan, this is fun and all, but what exactly, is this team? And I think I'm still trying to figure out the Blues' identity. That is something that I've had a really hard time with. Is figuring out, okay, St. Louis, I love you. I love the Blues, but who is this team? Is this a team that's going to continue to surprise us? The Blues, the one thing I will actually say is that the Blues, they could have potentially had more goals tonight, but I'm not going to knock them on that. Again, it's still early, and I understand that, and Binner, he made some really good saves so far, and he's been looking so solid in net. I've said this before, but he looks back to his old self, and especially against a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning that are an offensively dominant team most of the time. I know this season they've struggled quite a bit. Oh my God, I just coughed. Ew. It's one of those things where it's just interesting to see them kind of finally click together, and it's been making me really excited about what this future will be. But do you think that this is something that is going to be consistent with the Blues? Do you think they're going to continue to play well and impress? Or do you think it's going to go back to the way it was? I'm trying to be optimistic, and I'm asking you that question because I want you to think about that. I want you to think about where you want the Blues to be versus how you think they will be. This is where I think they should be. I think they should be a team that's winning games and, scoring and being strong offensively. But it's the defense that is the one thing, and I know I talked about this when I was talking about this episode, if they just tweak up that defense, and I don't know exactly what that means yet. I don't know if it's trades. I don't know because, again, a lot of the guys have that no trade clause. So it's a very interesting concept, to say the least, because if these guys didn't have those no trade clauses, I would have episodes upon episodes of, okay, this is where this guy would go, this is where this guy would go. But I can't do that because they all have those no trade clauses. So I think if they were able to tweak up, and you know who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say because he had a good game last game, so I'm not going to be negative. But I just, it's just a thought that I've been having. I don't know if anybody else has thought that way of what the Blues can do. Maybe, maybe not. But think about that. That is my one job for you. I'm think about it because it does bother me quite a bit sometimes. All right. You know what I don't have to think about? FanDuel. I love FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. Okay? No better time to get on the action. The app is easy to use. There is a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. One thing I like to say is this. I love to sports bet. It's a very well-known thing about myself, okay? If you want to bet on your Kansas City Chiefs, usually it is a sure bet to bet them on the money line and Patty Mahomes throwing over 220 yards. But I have, and I cooked this up because they have a bye week this week, so you couldn't really bet on them, which is like a little bit like, ew, it sucks. Like, you know, I always say this. Bet Patrick Mahomes throwing 220 passing yards and throwing for 2+ touchdowns. It usually hits. The reason why I do that, I feel like he's not much of like a rushing quarterback when it comes to touchdowns, at least. So you have to just get him throwing. So do that, win some money. I do 2-leg parlays. You can do whatever you want, but as long as you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon, it's a dub for you. It's a dub for me, and it's a dub for you. Dub City. Was I being too harsh? No. What am I referring to? Why would I be too harsh? Okay. So I understand there are things about this team that I cannot stand, like the defense, like the lack of effort that I saw in the beginning. I was frustrated. I am a fan first before I am a Blues podcaster. This is my hockey team. This is my fandom. This is how I spend my nights. It is watching Blues hockey. It's been like that forever, so it is what it is. But yeah, I'm not going to apologize for being frustrated over how my team was not playing or how they were playing but not playing good. No, I don't think it's being too harsh. I think that we are a fan base that is a passionate fan base. And it's not like, we're this big city that has a bunch of bandwagons. We're not. We're like kind of like a close-knit group. So it's obviously very frustrating when your team isn't performing well. And especially with Shenny getting the captaincy, I expected more out of him in the beginning, yeah. Robert Thomas, he's always been good. I'm not worried about him. But just like the lack of momentum, it just was very off-putting for me. And I think I'm one of those people, and I'm not going to speak for all the fan base here in St. Louis, where I tend to be a little bit more positive and optimistic just because that's how I view life, okay? I view life in that way, so that's how I'm going to view my Blues. But the Blues are so special, and this is a team that needs to get back into playoff contention. They do. It's for the sake of Berube. I mean, I would hate more than anything to see him go, and I know that's been a conversation that I've unfortunately had to have here on this podcast. But it's a conversation that had to happen, okay? The reason why, it's not because I'm saying I want Craig Berube gone. It is because I am afraid that Doug Armstrong's going to have to make that decision due to the Blues not winning. And usually, and this is how it goes in sports, especially hockey, if your team isn't winning, who is the first person to go? The coach. That's how it is. Do I agree? No. Is that how it is? Yes. And it does bother me quite a bit sometimes because it's like, I obviously would never want Berube gone. But I also don't want my team to lose consistently. So the fact that they're winning now, I mean, win it for Berube, man. Like, win it for the guy that was able to bring home the cup to your city. And I know there's some guys on the team that were a part of that squad back in that 2018 season. Well, 2018, 2019 season. But you got to win it for him. You got to win it for Berube. I mean, you can't tell me that he doesn't mean something to this city. He means everything. It does annoy me and it gets me frustrated. I just don't want, and I'm pausing because I'm upset. I don't want him to go. I don't. But, I mean, here's the thing. This team does need some changes, and maybe it is Armstrong. I doubt it. Look at me being dramatic. What's new? But I don't know what this team needs. I know what they need, but I don't know how to get them what they need because they have a stupid no trade clauses. And that's on Doug Armstrong because Berube does not make up the contracts. That is on Dougie. How do you give everybody on the team a no trade clause? Not everybody, an exception of 5 guys, but for real, what are you doing here? That's some bad negotiation. I'm not even a GA, but no, I'm not being too harsh on a team that should be playing better, especially if we have a no trade clause. You're here and you're not going to suck because if you suck, I'm not going to be a fan of you. I'm so over it. I'm getting mad, but I shouldn't be mad because the Blues are doing good. So, okay. We spend a lot of time talking together. You and I, we get fired up together on wins, on losses, who starts and who sits. I'm thankful for that conversation and that connection we have. And today, I want our chat to be a little more personal. I just learned you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize what that means? Bring on the extended travel. Bring on the next natural disaster or supply chain issue. You are covered, my friend. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis or Viagra. And this is all possible because of our friends at Jace Medical. Go online right now at jacemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jace. I am thankful for the service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a 1-year supply, and I ordered antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. If you are someone you love and would like to get some peace of mind having a 1-year supply of a daily med, go to jacemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. On this podcast, I like to look ahead, but I'm not going to look ahead to games tonight. I'm going to look ahead to the future of this team. Where would the Blues be 5 years from now? I know. Haley, why are you saying this right now? Well, it's an important conversation to have. The Blues, they have young guys on the Thunderbirds that will develop just fine, okay? We have Debor Dvorsky, who's been killing it, by the way. But most importantly, who will the Blues be in 5 years from now? Will they be a team in 5 years that, would make it to the postseason, the playoffs, and, wouldn't really do well past the first round? Or are they a team that kind of just fell off and they can't get their groove back on? What will the Blues be from 5 years from now? And that all goes into how they're playing now. Why do I propose this? It's because, well, yes, some seasons your team won't be playing well and others are going to be playing really well. It's all about the foundations. And foundations are, that's life. It sets you up for success in the future. And right now, the Blues don't have that foundation. They don't have a team of young guys. I know they have young guys, but it's not consistently young guys. Robert Thomas is the future. He will be the future captain one day. But the reason why I say this to you now is Okay, Hale, let's live in your fantasy world of looking ahead. Okay, what would you want the Blues to do? Where would you want them to be? Well, what I would want them to do is draft more defensive players. I think that's a number one thing. Free agency, take advantage of it. But most importantly, I want the Blues to be a team that's competitive throughout the next 5 years. I want them to be a team that is in contention for the cup. And that's going to take some time. And in 5 years from now, I hope, Dvorsky's over here. I hope he is at least. Like, that'd be insane if he wasn't. But I hope the Blues are this team that they were 5 years ago. It's crazy. It's been like about 5 years since that magical season. And 5 years ago, if you said, where will the Blues be 5 years from now? I would have been like, you know what? They're competing again for the cup. Don't count them out. And that's not what happened. 5 years goes by quickly. In life, in sports, especially hockey. The hockey lifeline, I know there's some players that have been around the league forever, okay? But that's not the reality of most, okay? Hockey is a very physical sport. It's a sport that you have to just be good young in. And I ask myself, 5 years from now, do I see the Blues being a cup contending team? Do I see Berube still being their coach? Is Doug Armstrong still the GM? Like, there are so many things that are so unknown. Is Robert Thomas captain? I mean, assuming if Shen ends up retiring. But these are the things. Is Torrey Krug? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. He'll be gone. I'm joking. No, that was mean. I was like, I can't make jokes. He just has been bothering me, but it's fine. But yeah, 5 years from now. So that's my question for you today. So my everydayers, if you got to this far in the podcast, 5 years from now, where would you want the Blues to be? Let me know, and then we can chat about it tomorrow. Okay. I will talk to you tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be a victory Wednesday for the Blues. And like always, let's go Blues. Now I'm going to get back to this game. I'll see you, folks.